So I have to say, I'm getting a little bit tired and frustrated with the clickbaity, combative approach of Piers Morgan's shows, where he tries to ride all the populist waves, try to ride the hysteria on both sides, show that he's kind of above it all by saying, well, I agree a bit with this, but I don't agree with that, but I agree with that, but I don't agree with that. Sounding as if he's balanced, but he ends up having no real meaningful opinion at all. Yeah, Israel, yeah, I think it can defend themselves, but not like this. What do you mean not like this? How else could they do it? They've been more surgically precise than any other army has in the history of urban warfare. Like, what else do you want from them? At the cost of their own soldiers' lives, by the way. And I mean, look, even the thumbnails, I mean, they're all just so clearly designed to just grab people. I mean, does this look like constructive conversations to you? I mean, look at the face. They're just like so aggressive. So, I don't know. On the other hand, they are getting people to talk, but they're just very shouty. And one example of this was just yesterday. They're having a debate about the ICC ridiculous arrest warrant of Prime Minister of the one and only Jewish state, Benjamin Netanyahu. And there's this anti-Israel pundit there who, first of all, says this. Have a watch.
I mean, to be honest with you, listening to Alan, it's like the ravings of a madman. We're 14 months into a genocide, which has been documented, the most documented genocide in history. You have the ICC asking for...
More than Nazi Germany? Wait a minute. More than Nazi Germany? The most documented genocide in history?
Documented, i.e. people can see it. I didn't say the amount of people.
What are you doing on television?
Now, he was saying, I mean documented in terms of there's mobile phones, there's all these kind of other things. First of all, there is no genocide taking place, according to any definition, okay? There's no intention to try and wipe out a people, there's an intention to get rid of Hamas. Secondly, the precision in getting rid of Hamas versus non-combatants being killed has been more precise than any war known in the history of modern urban warfare. So they say, well, it's starvation. There's been 1.1 million tons of aid that's gone into Gaza since October 7th. Okay? All these things, by the way, I consider to be questionable. The precision of going after Hamas at the cost of Israeli lives. So the non-combatants who are killed, by the way, how many of them are genuinely innocent? How many of them are complicit with Hamas if they're teaching kids to be martyrs, hiding weaponry in their houses, underground tunnels in their houses, etc., etc.? We know there's widespread support for Hamas. And but also this saying, well, it means it's the most documented in terms of we've got mobile phones and all these things. I still think it's a disgraceful thing to say on so many fronts. Number one, because there is no genocide, and number two, because it's a lie. And also because the Nazis were meticulous in documenting an actual genocide, which was the intentional annihilation, wiping out of a people. Okay, I remember going to Poland where we had we were shown basically the list the Nazis had of every single person they were sending to their deaths, with lines crossed through them, with their belongings, with everything. It's such a disgraceful kind of comment. But even if we want to accept what he's saying is true, here's where the stupidity comes in of this. So he has a long conversation where he says, no, it's documented. Look,
if you think that this is a greater genocide, documented genocide than the Nazi Holocaust,
that wasn't documented as it was happening in the same way. That wasn't documented in the same way while it was happening.
Nobody should listen.
Right, so what he's trying to say is, he's saying, I just mean it's documented with cameras and mobile phones. Okay? So if that's the case, if he thinks it's been so well documented, which it hasn't, because there isn't a genocide, where the mass population dying from starvation right now. And by the way, even if any suffering that occurs when Israel's just trying to fight a war to get rid of Hamas, any suffering that occurs, whether large or small, as a result of Hamas, it's not Israel's fault. And we went to war against Germany and had to destroy them. If that meant, by the way, that we'd have to have killed an even greater number of German non-combatants or civilians than were killed in World War II, it would still be justified and not genocide. It's not about numbers. It's about intent. It's about who is the aggressor and who is the genocidal one. Hamas are obviously that. But again, here is where it gets ridiculous, because just later on, there's a whole discussion where this same guy and even Piers Morgan are up in arms about the fact that Israel doesn't give free access of journalists to Gaza. And there's a whole host of reasons why Israel has limited resources and they need to focus on destroying Hamas. To start worrying about protecting journalists' lives, that's even more tricky when you're dealing with, populated zones where they're trying to pinpoint Hamas terrorists. To start having even more people. Imagine the kind of uproar, furor that would be caused by having journalists on the ground. But for whatever reason, whether right or wrong, that's their policy. But listen to what he's saying.
It is an act of self-harm unless they are literally covering up war crimes.
Can I just add one thing quickly?
He's saying it's an act of self-harm not to have reporters allowed in.
Piers, they've killed 188 Palestinian journalists.
They have killed a lot of Palestinians.
So that is part of the same reason. They're covering up the genocide. That's why they won't let them in. That's why they're killing.
I'll bring you back in.
Okay, so this guy is saying they're covering it up. They're covering up a genocide. Well, one second. Didn't you just say before that it's the most documented genocide? Which one is it? They're covering it up? Or it's the most documented? This is where it just gets so utterly absurd and ridiculous. And I don't know where he's getting this statistic from about 180 or so journalists being killed. I wonder what journalist he's referring to. Is he referring to this journalist? Al Jazeera confirmed Gaza hostage taker was a former freelance contributor. Abdallah Al-Jamal contributed to an op-ed in 2019, but its Jerusalem bureau chief said he's not listed as working for Al Jazeera, either now or in the past. Okay, he was holding hostages. Okay, he would be considered a Palestinian journalist and a member of Hamas who had contributed to Al Jazeera. So, the problem is that it is extremely blurry and complicated. And in Jewish law, someone that is considered a civilian is someone that identifies them as a civilian, that surrenders, that goes to the location that the army will say, go to if you wish to surrender, you go there. Someone that surrenders themselves, or someone that leaves. But in the heat of battle, how could you possibly expect Israel to have such clarity and know who is and isn't involved unless they tell them? You want the soldiers to determine that in the heat of battle, where one wrong move and they're dead? The standards are just absurd. People throw out ridiculous accusations without thinking. 40,000 dead. How many of those are Hamas? Why don't they ask that question? I even wonder whether we should be wasting our time trying to defend these ridiculous notions. Because I really do think with any other country, it would just be obvious. The facts would be obvious and sensible. So, I don't know. A lot of people were feeling in the aftermath of Piers Morgan's interview with Dan Bilzerian, why is he getting this guy on? I felt on the one hand, he's got a big following, this guy, so his anti-Semitism should be called out. But did Piers do a good job in really exposing him? Not so sure. So, that's my take on this. I think there's just a lot of... The world is just surrounded by a lot of lies and misinformation, and that's why the work we do with JTV to get the word out is all the more important. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me, that start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.